Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing at the edge of 2026, and let me tell you something that might hurt a little bit. Most of you watching this right now will end this year in the exact same place you started. Same financial struggle, same unfulfilled dreams, same complaints, same excuses. And you know what the funny part is? You'll blame everything except the real problem. You'll blame the economy, the government, your boss, your circumstances, your bad luck, even Mercury being in retrograde. But the truth, the real truth that nobody wants to hear, is that you are sabotaging yourself every single day with behaviors that feel normal, feel harmless, feel like everyone else is doing them, but are actually killing your future in slow motion. Success in 2026 doesn't require you to do 100 new things. It requires you to stop doing 4 things that are currently destroying you. And these 4 things are so deeply embedded in modern life that most people don't even realize they're doing them. They've become invisible habits, silent assassins, comfortable poisons. And today, I'm going to expose every single one of them so you can finally understand why your life keeps recycling the same results year after year after year. Here's what most people don't understand about success. It's not complicated. It's not some secret formula locked away in a billionaire's vault. It's not about working 20 hours a day or having superhuman discipline. Success is mostly about subtraction, not addition. It's about removing the things that are blocking you, not adding more motivational videos to your watch later playlist that you'll never actually watch. Think of your life like a car. Right now, you're pressing the gas pedal, trying to move forward, but you have the handbrake on. And instead of releasing the brake, you're just pressing the gas harder, wondering why you're burning fuel, but staying in the same spot. The 4 things I'm about to tell you, these are your handbrakes. And once you release them, you won't need to push harder. You'll just naturally accelerate. Because without resistance, progress becomes inevitable. So let's start with the first thing you absolutely must stop doing if you want any chance of winning in 2026. Stop consuming more than you create. Let me ask you something simple. In the last 7 days, how many hours did you spend consuming content? Watching videos, scrolling social media, binge watching shows, reading news articles, checking what everyone else is doing with their lives. Now compare that to how many hours you spent creating something, writing, building, producing, designing, strategizing, working on your actual goals. If you're honest, the ratio is probably embarrassing. And that right there is why you're stuck. You've become a professional consumer in a world that only rewards creators. Every minute you spend watching someone else's success is a minute you didn't spend building your own. Every hour you spend scrolling is an hour stolen from your future. And here's the trap. Consumption feels productive. You watch a business video and feel like you learned something. You scroll LinkedIn and feel like you're networking. You watch documentaries about successful people and feel inspired. But feelings are not results. You didn't learn, you were entertained. You didn't network, you observed. You didn't get inspired, you got distracted. Because real learning only happens when you apply. Real networking only happens when you reach out. Real inspiration only happens when you take action. Let me tell you what's really happening. The algorithm is designed to keep you consuming. Every platform, every app, every website makes money by keeping your eyes glued to the screen. They don't want you to leave and go build something. They want you scrolling forever, clicking forever, watching forever. And the content itself is engineered to be addictive. Short videos that give you quick dopamine hits, endless feeds that never run out, autoplay features that remove the decision to stop. You're not weak for getting trapped, you're human. But being human doesn't change the fact that while you're consuming, someone else is creating, and in 5 years, they'll own the platform and you'll still be scrolling on it. The internet has created 2 classes of people. A tiny percentage who create, build, publish, and monetize, and a massive majority who watch, consume, comment, and stay broke. The creators get rich. The consumers get entertained. And entertainment, my friend, is expensive. Not in money, in time, in life, in potential. Here's a brutal reality check. If you spent just 2 hours a day creating instead of consuming, that's 14 hours a week. That's over 700 hours a year. Do you know how much you can build in 700 focused hours? You can write a book, launch a business, master a high-income skill, build a personal brand that generates opportunities, create a product, develop a portfolio, learn to code. 700 hours of creation will transform your life. 700 hours of scrolling will just make you aware of how everyone else's life is transforming. And yet, every single day, people choose consumption. Why? Because it's easier. Because it doesn't require effort. Because it feels like rest, when really, it's rot. Your brain is not resting when you scroll. It's getting overstimulated, overwhelmed, and drained. That's why you can spend 3 hours on your phone and feel exhausted afterward. You didn't rest. You just burned energy on things that gave you nothing in return. Now, I'm not saying never consume. I'm not saying delete every app and live in a cave. I'm saying be intentional. Schedule your consumption the way you schedule meetings. Give it a time limit. Give it a purpose. Watch something to learn a specific skill, then close the app and go practice that skill. Consume with intention. Not out of boredom. Not out of habit. Not because you're avoiding the hard work your future requires. Because here's the truth. Every successful person you admire, every single one, spends more time creating than consuming. They produce more than they absorb. They build more than they browse. And if you want to join them, you need to flip that ratio immediately. Stop being the audience. Start being the show. Stop watching lives. Start building yours. And that brings us to the second thing that's keeping you stuck. And this one is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, because it's so socially acceptable that calling it out almost feels rude. But I don't care. Your future matters more than your feelings. Stop surrounding yourself with people who have no ambition. I know, that sounds harsh. That sounds cold. But let me explain something that will change your life if you truly understand it. You are not just influenced by your environment. You become your environment. The 5 people you spend the most time with don't just affect your mood. They shape your standards, your beliefs, your work ethic, your income level, your entire trajectory. Show me your closest friends, and I'll predict your future with frightening accuracy. If your friends complain more than they create, you will complain more than you create. If your friends talk about dreams but take no action, you will talk about dreams but take no action. If your friends are comfortable being mediocre, you will become comfortable being mediocre. Not because you're weak, but because humans are wired to match the energy of their tribe. It's survival instinct. We adapt to fit in. And if fitting in means staying small, you will shrink yourself without even realizing it. Now here's where people get defensive. They say things like, but these are my real friends. We've been through so much together. I can't just cut people off. That's cruel. I'm not like that. And I respect loyalty. I respect history. But let me ask you this. If someone you loved was drowning, would you jump in to drown with them out of loyalty? Or would you stay on solid ground so you could actually help pull them up? Your life is the solid ground. And if you let people pull you into their dysfunction, their negativity, their lack of ambition, their comfort with average, you're not being loyal. You're being stupid. Because now both of you are sinking. You can love people from a distance. You can care about people without spending every day absorbing their energy. You can wish them well without letting them infect your mindset with their limitations. And if that sounds selfish, good. Because in 2026, the people who win will be the ones who protect their energy like it's their most valuable asset. Because it is. Let's talk about what happens when you spend time with low ambition people. First, they normalize mediocrity. When everyone around you is stuck, being stuck feels normal. When everyone around you is broke, being broke feels acceptable. When everyone around you complains about the system, instead of beating the system, you start to believe the system can't be beaten. Your environment sets your baseline. And if your baseline is low, you'll never even think to reach higher. Second, they drain your energy. Every conversation becomes a therapy session. Every meetup becomes a venting session. They don't come to you with ideas. They come to you with problems. They don't ask how they can improve. They ask you to validate why they haven't. And after spending time with them, you don't feel energized, inspired, or motivated. You feel heavy. You feel tired. You feel like you need a nap and a reset. That's not friendship. That's energy vampirism. Third, they punish your growth. This is the part people don't talk about. When you start improving, when you start waking up earlier, working harder, cutting out bad habits, chasing bigger goals, the people around you who aren't doing the same will not celebrate you. They will mock you. They'll call you obsessed. They'll say you've changed. They'll make jokes every time you make a disciplined decision. Why? Because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. And instead of being inspired by you, they feel threatened by you. So they try to pull you back down to their level, not because they hate you, but because your rise makes them uncomfortable. And if you're not strong enough, if you still need their approval, you'll slow down, you'll dim your light, you'll stop growing just to keep them comfortable. That is one of the most expensive mistakes you will ever make. Here's what you need to do. Audit your circle. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. Next to each name, write down their habits, their mindset, their goals, their trajectory. Are they growing or complaining? Are they learning or just existing? Are they building something or just killing time? Be ruthlessly honest. Then ask yourself, if I become the average of these 5 people, will I be proud of who I become? If the answer is no, you already know what needs to change. Now, changing your circle doesn't mean you announce it. You don't need to have some dramatic conversation where you tell people they're holding you back. That's messy and unnecessary. You just become less available. You spend less time. You stop being the person they can always reach. You start investing your time with people who are on a different level. People who challenge you. People who inspire you. People who make you feel like you need to level up just to keep pace with them. And here's what happens when you do this. Your entire life shifts. The conversations change. Instead of gossip, you talk strategy. Instead of complaining, you talk opportunities. Instead of excuses, you share solutions. You start seeing what's possible because you're around people who are already doing it. Your standards rise automatically. What used to feel like a big goal now feels like the bare minimum. And suddenly, without even trying harder, you start achieving more because you're operating in a higher frequency environment. This is not theory. This is how every successful person on the planet operates. They are extremely, sometimes ruthlessly, selective about who gets access to their time and energy because they understand that protection of environment is protection of future. So, stop defending the wrong circle out of guilt. Start building the right circle out of vision. Your future self will thank you. Now let's move to the third thing you must stop doing. And this is the one that's probably destroying you right now without you even knowing it. Stop working without a clear result in mind. Most people are busy, but busy is not the same as productive. Busy is just motion. Productivity is motion with purpose. And right now, the majority of people are spending their days doing a whole lot of nothing disguised as work. They wake up, they grind, they hustle, they stay up late, they sacrifice sleep, they post about how hard they're working, and at the end of the week, the month, the year, they look back and realize they've moved nowhere. Why? Because they never defined what result they were actually working toward. They're just doing tasks, checking boxes, staying in motion. And motion without direction is just expensive confusion. Let me give you an example. Someone says, I'm working on my business. Okay, but what does that mean? Are you working to make your first sale? Are you working to hit $10,000 a month? Are you working to build a team? Are you working to scale to 6 figures? Or are you just working, doing random tasks that feel like progress, but don't actually move the needle? Because if you don't know the specific result you're trying to create, every action feels equally important, which means nothing is actually important. You'll spend an hour designing a logo that doesn't matter. You'll spend 3 hours researching things you'll never use. You'll spend a whole day reorganizing your files, cleaning your workspace, updating your website, tweaking your Instagram bio. And at the end of the day, you'll feel productive because you were busy, but you didn't make a sale. You didn't gain a client. You didn't move closer to the result. You just rearranged the furniture on a ship that's not moving. Here's how successful people work. They start with the result. They define exactly what they want to achieve. Not vague goals like, I want to be successful or I want to make money. Specific, measurable, clear results. I want to make $10,000 in revenue this month. I want to gain 500 email subscribers. I want to close 3 clients. I want to publish 1 piece of content every day for 30 days. Once the result is clear, they reverse engineer it. They ask, what actions will directly create this result? Not what actions feel good, not what actions look impressive, but what actions actually matter. Then they do only those actions. Everything else gets ignored delayed, or deleted. That's the difference. Unsuccessful people do everything and hope something works. Successful people do the one thing that matters and execute it relentlessly until the result appears. Let me make this practical. If your goal is to make your first $1,000 online, there are only a few actions that matter. Creating an offer, finding people who need that offer, presenting the offer, closing the sale. That's it. Everything else, your logo, your website design, your color scheme, your business cards, your perfect morning routine, none of that creates revenue. It's all distraction dressed as preparation. And yet, most people spend months preparing and wonder why they're still at zero. Because the market doesn't pay you for preparation. The market pays you for results. And results only come from actions that directly create the outcome you want. So, stop doing things that make you feel busy and start doing things that make you money, that build your skill, that move you closer to the life you actually want. Here's a rule that will save you years of wasted effort. Every single day, before you do anything, ask yourself this question. If I could only do one thing today that would move me closer to my goal, what would it be? Then do that thing first. Not after you check email, not after you scroll, not after you feel ready. First. Before anything else. Because that one thing is the only thing that actually matters. Everything else is just noise. And the reason most people fail is not because they don't work hard. It's because they work hard on the wrong things. They confuse activity with achievement. They confuse effort with effectiveness. And they waste years of their life being busy while going nowhere. Don't be that person. Be the person who works less, but achieves more, because every action you take is aimed directly at the result you want. And now we come to the fourth and final thing you must stop doing if you want any shot at success in 2026. And this one is the hardest to admit because it requires looking in the mirror and accepting a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Stop waiting for motivation before you take action. This is the killer. This is the dream destroyer. This is the silent assassin that has robbed more people of their potential than any external obstacle ever could. Because motivation is a lie. It's a feeling. And feelings are temporary, unreliable, and completely irrelevant to whether or not you succeed. Let me say that again, because people don't get this. Your feelings do not determine your results. Your actions do. And if you only take action when you feel like it, you will achieve nothing. Because most days, you won't feel like it. Most days, you'll be tired. Most days, you'll be distracted. Most days, you'll want to quit. And if you need motivation to move, you'll spend most of your life sitting still. Here's what people don't understand. Motivation is not the cause of action. Motivation is the result of action. You don't feel motivated and then start working. You start working and then feel motivated. The act of doing something creates the energy to keep doing it. But you have to start without the feeling. You have to move when your body says stop. You have to work when your brain says rest. You have to show up when every part of you wants to stay in bed. That's discipline. And discipline is the only thing that separates people who succeed from people who just talk about success. Because everyone has dreams. Everyone has goals. Everyone wants a better life. But only the people who can move without motivation actually get it. The rest just keep waiting for inspiration that never comes. Let me destroy this myth once and for all. You're never going to wake up one day and suddenly feel ready. You're never going to feel confident before you start. You're never going to feel motivated every single day. Successful people don't feel different than you. They just move anyway. They're tired, they work. They're scared, they start. They're unsure, they try. They don't wait for the perfect emotional state. They create momentum through action, and the emotions follow. That's the secret. And it's not even a secret. It's just something nobody wants to hear, because it removes the excuse. If success doesn't require you to feel good, it just requires you to act regardless of how you feel, then you have no reason to stay stuck. The only thing between you and everything you want is your unwillingness to move without the feeling. So here's what you do. You build systems, not motivation. You create routines that remove the need to decide. You wake up at the same time every day. You work at the same time every day. You show up whether you feel like it or not. Because once it's a system, it's automatic. You don't ask yourself, If you feel like brushing your teeth, you just do it. You don't wait for motivation to take a shower, you just do it. And you need to treat your goals the same way. Non-negotiable, automatic, part of who you are. Not something you do when you feel inspired, something you do because that's what you do, period. And when you build that level of discipline, motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't need it anymore. You're moving with or without it. And that's when everything changes. That's when you go from dreamer to doer. That's when success stops being a possibility and starts being inevitable. So let me summarize the 4 things you must stop doing if you want success in 2026. Stop consuming more than you create. Stop surrounding yourself with low ambition people. Stop working without a clear result in mind. And stop waiting for motivation before you take action. These 4 things are silent killers. They don't destroy you in one day. They destroy you slowly, quietly, over years, until you wake up and realize you wasted your potential waiting for conditions that were never going to arrive. But now you know. Now you see the handbrakes. Now you have the awareness. And awareness is the first step. The second step is decision. And the third step is action. So decide right now, today, that you're done with these 4 behaviors. Decide that from this moment forward, you create more than you consume, you protect your circle, you work with purpose, and you move with discipline. Make that decision. Honor that decision. And I promise you, by the end of 2026, you won't recognize your life. Because when you remove what's holding you back, you don't have to push forward. You just fly. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends.